No, it's not going yet.
Okay, I'm sorry, Eli, I'm going to need to take co-host or host back. Shalom. This is not only our Shabbat service, this is also our celebration of the Jewish festival of Shavuot. It's one of the 3 pilgrimage festivals mentioned in the Torah, so it's particularly special. I want to thank our digital director, Eli Kerber, for his work behind the scenes to keep our service running smoothly this evening. And we hopefully are streaming on Facebook Live. Apologize for any technical difficulties. I want to especially thank Sydney Epstein, Alexis Konev, Abraham Levine, Ada Mercer, and Asher Mercer for helping lead our services this evening. Tonight's service, as I've said, is a festival service. So with the weekly email, we sent along PDF files of the service that we'll be using. Tonight, everyone should literally be on the same page. Those are the pages we will all use together tonight. So, at this time, it's a real pleasure to begin. I'd like to invite Sydney Epstein to take over the screen as we begin with the festival blessing over candles on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu hadlikar shel Shabbat v'yom tov. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat and this festival. May these festival lights open our eyes to the joys in life, beauty that delights the eye, freedom to be ourselves, the knowledge of Torah that shapes our moral being, the heritage of celebration that unites us as a people. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, for giving us life, sustaining us, and enabling us to reach this season.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Thank you so much, Juliet. That was beautiful. We are going to turn to Alexis Konev, and to page 125. She's still muted.
I know it's not letting me unmute her. There we go. Should be. Is she unmuted now?
Sorry for technical difficulties. Alexis, try now.
Yeah. Now summer's prospect, the world ripening and growing softer, the promise of the harvest fulfilled, The warming sun lies before us. Now the vision of the Torah, the world at peace and growing gentler, the promise of goodness fulfilled, the loving heart lies open to the mind.
Tzadikata yifrach ke'erez belvanon yizkeh shetulim evet Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrihu, oh Dieu nouveau me seva, de shenim ranim, yiyu lehagim, ke yashar Adonai, Please join me for the Hatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal ve'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Yalmad yivarach Yerutev yamlich malchuteh b'chayechon uvyomechon ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Amen. I now invite you to either lift your spirits or rise for the Baruch Hu. We'll transition into the next part of our evening. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed.
How do we find God? We find God revealed in the order of the physical universe, in the compassion of the human heart, and in the guiding wisdom of Torah.
Sinai was only the beginning. The Torah has never ceased to grow. In every age, it has been purified and enlarged. It has a permanent core and expanding periphery. It expands as the horizon of our vision grows. Nor are God's revelations confined to Israel. God has been the inspiration of the great and good among all families of the earth. God's love and guidance reach out to all the world.
Thank you so much. At this time, I invite everyone to turn to pages 136 and 137 for the Shema. We've learned before some a sign language version. If you're familiar with it and comfortable, I invite you to join with me in signing. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Please feel free to join with me in chanting the Ve'ahavta, which appears on page 138 of your PDF. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantaham levanecha v'dibarta baham b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvelechtecha v'derech uveshochbecha uvekumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uchetavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha Lemahan tizkaruhu va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Please join Asher Mercer on page 141.
Doubting is but the forefront of faith, a faith in the infinite growth of an unbounded creation. A doubting age is one of restlessness and discontent with what is current. A doubt is an idea that is still alive. To doubt that the past has uncovered all things is to express faith, that many things are still to be uncovered. To doubt that we have grown to our full stature of knowledge is to express faith that we may develop into becoming such power and dignity that we cannot yet imagine what shall be.
Thank you so much, Asher. We now, in our service, come to the first of two readings from the Torah. And as we'll be reading Torah together, it's appropriate to say the blessing over it. We'll pronounce the blessing over the study of Torah rather than its public reading, because although we are together now virtually, we're still physically separated. So please feel free to say with me, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah.
Peretz, Cholid et Hetzron, Bechetzron Cholid et Ram, Veram Cholid et Aminadav. Ve'aminadav Cholid et Nachshon, Ve'nachshon Cholid et Salma. Besalmon Cholid et Boaz, Ve'boaz Cholid et Oved. Ve'oved Cholid et Yisai, Ve'yisai Cholid et David. This is the line of Perez. Perez begot Hezron, Hezron begot Ram, Ram begot Aminadav, Aminadav begot Nachshon, Nachshon begot Salma, Salma begot Boaz, Boaz begot Obed, Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David.
After such wonderful reading, it is appropriate to say, Yasher Koach. Well done, and thank you, Abraham. At this time, I would like to do two things. Call attention to this amazing bouquet of peonies, which came from our own backyard. I'm as proud of them as if I'd actually planted and grown them myself, and I wish you could smell the amazing perfume that's coming off of them right now. It's really, really appropriate for a joyous holiday like this. And the second thing I'd like to invite you all to do is join me on page 206 of your Festival Tefillah handout for the beginning of the Festival Amidah, the central prayer of our worship service this evening. Because this is a festival of Shavuot, there are certain insertions unique to this holiday, so it will be both familiar and unfamiliar. I would invite you either to rise to your feet or lift your spirits as I am doing now, so that you may remain on camera. And please feel free to chant as loud as you like, even if you don't know the melody. The God I believe in understands what you mean and appreciates the effort. Page 206 for the Festival Amidah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Here we go again.
Let us praise Adonai, source of knowledge and light, for whom we draw wisdom and insight. Let us savor the fullness of each and every day and fill our souls with the treasures of Shabbat. And let us appreciate those distinctions, sacred from profane, charity from greed, purpose from drift. Let us affirm our covenant as God's people. Let us honor those who study Torah. Let us uphold the truth of ongoing revelation. Let us celebrate the glory of our tradition and draw refreshment from the well springs of prayer. Let us respect tradition and encourage creative faith. Let us dress ourselves in the garments of God, compassion for the needy, embrace of the stranger, and then spread the canopy of peace all over the world. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah.
Thank you. We continue on page 208 with the Gevurot. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol ata rav lehoshia, morid hatal, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol barachamim rabim, sohomech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayehem emunato, lishenei ahafar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umidom mehelach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Please join Abraham and me on page 209.
With dewdrops of light and blessing, let the earth be illumined and blessed. With dewdrops of joy and delight, let the earth rejoice and sing out. With dewdrops of life and well-being, let the earth be revived and improved. With dewdrops of redemption, let the earth be redeemed.
Livracha v'lo liklala, l'chayim v'lo lamavet, l'sova v'lo l'razon, for blessing and not for curse, for life and not for death, for abundance, not for want. Please join me on page 210. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalalu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh. And we turn to page 214. Ata v'chartanu mikol ha'amim, ahavta otanu v'ratzita banu, v'ramamtanu mikol ha'lishonot, v'kidashtanu b'mitzvotecha, v'keravtanu malkeinu la'avodatecha, v'shimcha hagadol, v'hakadosh aleinu karataha, v'titein lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'yahava, Shabbatot limnucha, u'moadim l'simcha, Chagim uzmanim l'sason et yom ha-Shabbat hazeh ve'et yom Chag ha-Shavuot hazeh zman matan Toratenu mikra kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim.
Us in love and favor by making us holy through your mitzvot and drawing us close to your service, that through us your great and holy name may become known in all the earth. In your love, Adonai, our God, you have given us feasts of gladness and seasons of joy. This festival of Shavuot, season of our receiving Torah, to unite in worship and recall the exodus from Egypt.
Thank you. We turn now to page 215 for the second of two readings from the Torah this evening. This one comes from Exodus chapter 23, verses 14 and 16. Shalosh regalim tachog li bashana shana et chag hamatzot tishmor shivat yamim tochal matzot ka'asher tziviticha lemoed chodesh ha'aviv ki vo yatzata mitzrayim velo yera'u fanai rekam v'chag hakatzir bikurei ma'asecha asher tizrah basadeh v'chag ha'asif b'tzeit hashana ba'ospecha et ma'asecha min hasadeh. 3 times a year you shall hold a festival for me. You shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, eating unleavened bread for 7 days, as I have commanded you, at the end of the month of Aviv, for in it you went forth from Egypt. And none shall appear before me empty-handed. And the feast of the harvest, of the first fruit of your work, of what you sow in the field, and the feast of ingathering at the end of the year, when you gather the results of your work from the field.
One does not travel to Jerusalem. One returns. One ascends. The road taken by generation, the path of longing. On the way to redemption, one brings rucksacks stuffed with memories to each mountain and each hill. In the cobbled white alleyways, one offers a blessing for memories of the past which have been renewed. One does not travel to Jerusalem. One returns.
Thank you. We continue now on page 216. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu ya'aleh ve'yavo ve'yizacher zichronenu zicharon kol amcha beit Yisrael lefanecha letova ulecheinu lechesed ulerachamim ulechayim uleshalom beyom chag hashavuot hazeh God and God of our ancestors, be mindful of your people Israel and recall our merit for good and grace and in loving kindness and compassion for life and peace on this festival of Shavuot. Please join Sydney on page 217.
Many generations later, redeemed from slavery, Abraham and Sarah's descendants stood at Mount Sinai. The ancient promise was to be confirmed, the ancient mandate reasserted and enlarged, the ancient covenant renewed and sealed to bind all future generations. When God revealed the Torah, no bird chirped, no fowl beat its wings, no ox bellowed, the angels did not sing, the sea did not stir, no creature uttered a sound. The world was silent and still, and the divine voice spoke, I, the Eternal, am your God.
Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo letova, Amen. Ufokdeinu vo livracha, Amen. Vahoshienu vo lechayim, Amen. This day remember us for well-being, Amen. This day bless us with your nearness, Amen. This day help us to a fuller life, Amen. Page 218. Bestow upon us the blessing of your holy festivals, and may we so celebrate them as to be worthy of your blessing. Our God and God of our ancestors, make us holy with your mitzvot, and let your Torah be our way of life. May our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. Let your Shabbatot and holy festivals remain our heritage, and let us celebrate them with love and favor and joy, so that all Israel, hallowing your name, may have cause to rejoice. We praise you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat, the house of Israel, and the festivals. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat veYisrael v'hazmanim. Please join Alexis on page 219.
Let standing corn grow ripe, as dewdrops bring their blessing. Food for the hungry, healing for the sick. Let the bare vines be draped with grape blossoms, as the heavens yield their dew. Let oases drip with plenty, and hills be draped in gladness, dressed with flowers in the colors of spring, singing your great goodness as the heavens yield their dew. Let the trees God made be fed on valley and hill, and the granaries be filled with grain, the vats with wine and oil. Let every village be joyous and safe as the heavens yield their dew. Let those who spend themselves in the study of our faith shine bright as stars. You feed the hungry soul, the dry and empty heart, and fill it with delight as the heavens yield their dew. Send your sweet breeze to renew our life, restore to its ancient glory and land of our heritage. You who are good to all, let time of redemption come and renew our life. Our God and God of our ancestors, as the dew descends, let light illuminate the earth, let blessing restore the earth, let joy and gladness be around the earth, let song resound the earth, and with goodness and sustenance deliver us on earth. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmani.
Amen. Thank you so much. This evening, the Congregation Beth Shalom community is thinking in particular and praying for the good health of Thomas Tracy, Dennis Nichols, Don Siegel, Samantha Brown, Miles Brown, Rhonda Burns, Jeannie Stein, Margaret Schwimmer, Stacy Leeds, Nancy Felsher, Kristen Jones, Bennett Leshnover, Caleb Ben-Sarah Avraham, Ray Riley, Jack Steneker, Ed Ramthun, Yudi Dukes, Chaim Schneor Zalman, Yehuda Ben Hinde Yocheved, Basia Schmidt, and Bruce Gage, as well as people everywhere who suffer and who are in need of healing. We will think of them during our silent meditation. We will only have a brief silent meditation this evening, not a specific Misha Berach. Please take a few moments to remember them in your prayers and whatever other prayers are in your hearts and minds or on the pages before you. We'll come back together with Shalom Rav on page 224 momentarily.
And friends, as we have our thoughts on those who need healing in whatever way, please add names to the chat so that we all can share in your thoughts and concerns for your friends, family, neighbors. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon l'chol ha'shalom. Ki ata hu melech adon l'chol ha'shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Juliet, thank you so much. That was beautiful, and that's one of my favorite songs. I couldn't help noticing that one specific and seemingly minor character who appeared in last week's Torah portion also appears in this week's Torah portion. Perhaps you noticed as well. Do you know who it is? Last week, as we began reading the book of Numbers, we read a list of chieftains of the 12 tribes of Israel. The chieftain of Judah in that portion was Nachshon ben Aminadav, Nachshon, the son of Aminadav. This week, in honor of the biblical festival of Shavuot, in addition to reading from the Torah, we read from the book of Ruth, as Abraham Levine so capably read for us from Ruth chapter 4, verse 19, Ve'aminadav holid et Nachshon. And Aminadav begot Nachshon, placing him squarely in a genealogy that will eventually lead to David. There are no coincidences in the Torah, so Nachshon must be important. What's his story? In the Talmud, that vast compendium of Jewish debates and rules and regulations and folklore, I found a story. It's actually two different stories about Nachshon. Rabbi Meir says, when Israel stood upon the shore of the Red Sea, the tribes began to argue with one another. This one said, I will go down into the sea first, while that one said, no, I will go down into the sea first. And while they were standing around yelling at one another, the tribe of Benjamin jumped down into the sea first. The chieftains of Judah began pelting the other tribes with stones, trying to make them get a move on into the sea too. And therefore, says the Midrash, did the righteous tribe of Benjamin merit hosting the Shekhinah, God's divine indwelling presence. For the first temple was built on the border of the territories of the tribes of Benjamin and Judah, as, after all, is written in Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 12, God protects Benjamin always as he rests between God's shoulders. But Rabbi Yehuda said to Rabbi Meir, no, that's not how the story happened. Rather, one tribe was saying, I'm not going down into the Red Sea first. And another tribe was saying, well, I'm not going down into the Red Sea first. And while they were standing around advising one another about who should be first into the sea, Nachshon ben Aminadav went and jumped in. At that moment, Moses had been in the middle of a lengthy prayer to God. The Holy One, blessed be, said to him, my beloved one is drowning in the sea, and you are just standing there praying to me? God said to him in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 15-16, that's exactly when God said, why did you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward. And as for you, lift up your rod and hold it up over the sea and split it, so that the Israelites may march into the sea on dry ground. Therefore, the tribe of Judah merited ruling over Israel, for the kingdom of the house of David descends from Nachshon of the tribe of Judah. Just as it's written in Psalm 114, verses 1 through 2, when Israel went out from Egypt, the house of Jacob from a foreign people, Judah became holy to God, and Israel his dominion. How do we know? As is written in Psalm 114, verse 3, the Red Sea saw and fled. The river Jordan ran backwards. I love the clever way that Rabbi Yehuda is tweaking the meaning of the psalm. Judah became holy to God, the rest of Israel, Judah's dominion, because King David will become the sovereign over Israel. But I love the details of these stories. Can't you just hear those tribal chieftains arguing over it? Me first! No, me first! Maybe they wanted the honor of first place. Or maybe they just wanted to get away from the thunder of Pharaoh's chariots, which were in hot pursuit and gaining fast. I love the explanation of why Benjamin gets to host Solomon's temple on its territory right next to the border with Judah's territory. But even more, I love this Jewish penchant for argument. Rabbi Yehuda has to come along and contradict Rabbi Meir, and I find Rabbi Yehuda's version even more compelling because the Israelite chieftains are saying, I'm not going in first. What are you, nuts? I'm not going in there. You go in there. No way. Let's get Shimon to try it. Nah, he won't do it. Let's get Levi to try it. Now, I had known this story of Nachshon ben Aminadav, or I thought I did. I never heard this version where God rebukes Moses for praying while poor Nachshon has taken his leap of faith and is drowning in the Red Sea before it splits. I guess those Hebrew slaves never learned to swim before they left Egypt. And I love the explanation of how come the tribe of Judah winds up ruling over the other tribes. Because Nachshon's faith and courage merited it. Even God seems far more impressed by Nachshon's bold leap of faith than by Moses' lengthy prayer. With that in mind, I'll keep this short. In this anxious moment of global pandemic with unimaginable rates of death and its attendant political turmoil and economic devastation, and in the face of renewed anguish over senseless violence against our fellow African American citizens, and the nightmarish outpouring of rage following in its wake, we could use faith and courage like Nachshon's. But maybe we can't all be like Nachshon, leading by example. I hope, though, that we won't be like the rest of Judah's leadership. I hope we'll use hopeful words and not throw rocks in order to encourage people to get moving. And if we can't all be Nachshon, we don't all have to be like the rest of our Israelite ancestors. No matter which version of the story you prefer, whether you prefer the me first version or the I'm not going in there first version, either way, they didn't behave very well. So even if we think the way forward is obvious, let's discuss it respectfully, reasonably, and calmly. On the way, let's walk and not run. And on the way, let's make room for one another rather than shoving each other aside. Ken Yehi Ratzon. So may it be God's will. And at this time, I would like to invite Annette Gross, representing our board of directors, to join us on screen and for some announcements. Hi, Annette.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to everyone on our virtual Shabbat this evening. Many things have changed, but not canceled, just postponed or going virtual. Our Shabbat services will continue the second, third, and fourth Friday into June. Virtual at this point, and we are looking at limited physical options as the state opens up. This will not occur until July at the earliest. As all the committees and groups are scheduling things virtually, as a reminder, if you want to use the temple's Zoom line or conference line, just contact Rabbi Justin for Zoom and or Beth Landy for the conference line number, so we are sure that no one else is using it at that time. It's very easy to stay up. Let's stay connected. Here are some upcoming virtual events. We can continue to support Popsy's Pantry through monetary donations and dropping off items Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at their Hoover Road location. See our e-news for items that they are in need of, or contact Isabel Atlas. Our next virtual book club will be this Sunday, May 31st at 3 p.m. The book is called When Time Stopped, A Memoir of My Father's Way and What Remains by Ariana Newman. Our e-news has the Zoom link in the information. Please join us for our upcoming Trivia 2 event on Sunday, June 14th. The theme is the 70s. There will be Grubhub gift certificates for the winners, and check the calendar for details. Last but very important, our annual meeting will still occur on June 7th at 4:30 p.m. via Zoom. All information was mailed to congregants on Friday, May 15th, with several reminders sent out as well. If you did not receive it, please contact Beth Landy. Since this will be a virtual meeting, everyone will need to vote in advance for our slate of officers. Votes must be received by June 6th via mail or emailed. Specific instructions are on the ballot, so please follow them and let us know if you have any questions. In the meantime, if you or anyone you know is in need of anything, food, a phone call, a virtual hug, or anything, please reach out to Rabbi Justin, Juliet, our board of directors, or Barbie Steneker, representing our Social Action Committee, to assist you. We will find support and guidance. Also, if you have a few minutes, reach out to another CBS member or anyone that you may not have talked to in a while, just to say hi and connect. That is so important during this time. Thank you to Rabbi Justin, Juliet, and everyone who has kept everything going at CBS as we take new steps each day and week. On behalf of the CBS board and all of us, I wish you good health and a wonderful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Annette, and thank you for your service on the board of directors. And your Zoom feed looks particularly good tonight. The rest of us could really take lessons from you on proper lighting and appearance. Looks great. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. We are going to turn now in our service to our Yizkor portion of our service. This is a special memorial section of our worship, which is included in the three pilgrimage festivals of Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, as well as on Yom Kippur. It is an opportunity for all of us to remember those members of our families who have died and for the martyrs of our people. We're going to turn now in our virtual handout, our PDF files, to page 313, while Juliet leads us in Esa Enai.
This part you can sing along with me. Whoa, 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 Me'ayin, me'ayin yavo ezri. Esa enai el heharim. Me'ayin, me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri. Me'im Adonai oseh hashmayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh hashmayim va'aretz. Esa enai el heharim. Me'ayin, me'ayin yavo ezri. Esa enai el heharim. Me'ayin, me'ayin yavo ezri.
Juliet, thank you so much. At this time, we turn in our prayer books to page 316 for the silent Yizkor. And as we begin, I light this Yizkor candle to remember fondly the memory of those of our families who are no longer living and the martyrs of our people. We'll read page 316 silently together and conclude with El Male Rachamim on the next page. Israel shemasru et nafshotem al kiddush Hashem anak yena nafshotehem tzrut b'tzrut chaim utehim be'uchatam kavod sova smachot et panecha ne'imot b'mincha netzach. Amen. El male rachamim shochen bamromihim amatzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashechinah im kedoshim utahorim kezohar harakia mazhirim lenishmat yakireinu shahalchu la'olamam Ba'al harachamim yastirem b'seter kanafav la'olamim v'yitzror b'tzror hachayim et nishmotam Adonai hu nachalatam v'yanuchu b'shalom al mishkavam v'nomar Amen. Fully compassionate God on high, to our loved ones who have entered eternity, grant clear and certain rest with you. In the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings. Secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours. May they rest in peace. Amen. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as they live, we too shall live, for they are not now a part of us as we remember them. We turn now to page 322, and once again I will invite the congregation either to lift your spirits or rise to your feet as Juliet leads us in Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon ha'kol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית. שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Thank you so much, Juliet. It might seem awkward now to recite Mourner's Kaddish, having just finished with our Yizkor service, but I should explain that the Yizkor is for the whole community. It's for everyone to remember their loved ones who have died, and it's for the martyrs of our people. It is recited on the 3 festivals and on the high holy days. On the other hand, the Kaddish, which we now recite, is for specific persons on their yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death, and we recite it on Shabbat each week. So therefore, yes, we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those who we have drawn into our hearts with our own. This week, we remember fondly, we are in Shloshim for Debbie Walensky, who was a friend to many of us, and we are in Shloshim, the 30-day period of mourning for Rabbi Sissy Koran of Rockdale Temple in Cincinnati, Ohio. We fondly remember Molly Kittman, the grandmother of Karen Stern, Samuel Kravitz, the uncle of Annette Gross, Jim Naring, the father of Juliet Naring, Hetty Geismer Tobias, mother of Carol Ehrenstein, and David Marks, the stepfather of Jack Cohen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. And please join me in Mourner's Kaddish on page 334. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayei dechol beit Israel, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam ula'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yit hadar v'yit alei v'yit halal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen. May the Holy One who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel and to all who dwell on earth, to which we say, Amen.
Shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Oseh shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel.
Julia, thank you so much for providing us with such wonderful music and singing this evening. And I want to especially thank again our wonderful young people who joined us this evening, who brought so much kavod and tiferet, so much honor and splendor to our worship this evening. Sydney Epstein, Alexis Konev, Abraham Levine, and Ada and Asher Mercer. Thank you all so very much, and you all can daven in my shul anytime, and I hope you will. We are going to conclude our service starting with the Festival Kiddush on page 341. I may not have actually sent that to you all, but it's pretty easy. Eila mo'adai Adonai mikra'e kodesh asher tikra'u otam b'mo'adam vaydaber Moshe et mo'adei Adonai el b'nei Yisrael. These are the appointed seasons of Adonai, the sacred days that you shall proclaim at their appointed times. And Moses declared the appointed seasons of Adonai to the people of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Thank you. I'd like to thank Hope for baking us another magnificent challah. Thank you very much. Please feel free to join with me in the motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Got a story to tell?
I have a story to tell. Do I need your thingy?
No, you'll be fine, I think. But yeah. But you'd have to get right up close.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So I learned many years ago from Justin that cheesecake is a very traditional food to have on Shavuot. And I thought, oh, that's nice. Now, there are many talents Justin has, but it makes me extremely nervous when he walks into my kitchen. Not just the mess, but the phrase, I walked away and it got a little dark, happens quite frequently. So we were living in Athens, Georgia, but I happened to be home visiting my family. And I get this phone call from him and he says, it's Shavuot and I want to make a cheesecake. And immediately my blood turned to ice water in my veins. But I said, okay, what do you need to do? And he said, well, here's the problem. The recipe I have calls for an Oreo crust. And I said, okay. And he goes, well, what do you think is the best way to get the cream out of the Oreos to make an Oreo crust? And I thought, well, first of all, don't lick. That would be a really bad idea. And I said, but in case you didn't know, they make Oreo crusts. You can go to the grocery store and go in the baking aisle and buy one, and please do that. And he said, very wisely, okay.
Sure,
so
honey.
Hold on. So this is the one we've made this evening. I should say I made. And I wish you were all here to enjoy it with us.
And thank you very, very much.
You're most welcome.
And that's what I did, and I did not lick the Oreos. Yeah.
That's right.
Right on. Before we go into gallery mode and just we unmute ourselves and chat for a moment, the last thing I have to say to you all this evening. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may the Holy One bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, may the Holy One cause your faces to shine with joyful radiance and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasam lecha shalom, may the Holy One lift your spirits and establish peace for you, now and forevermore, and Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. Go ahead and unmute everybody.
Is it the dry wine?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.